All right, we're going to do this quick live video. So somebody emailed me the other day with a really important question. This is it. They said, look, I'm concerned with the way members of my team act in our routine team retrospectives and the things they don't talk about. And this person went on to say that I know that my team has really deep frustrations and concerns and a lot of feelings. I hear them in our one-on-one meetings. I hear them talk about how, this was frustrating to them or that, and sometimes when individual people on the team screwed up or didn't do something in a certain way, that can be really frustrating. It can derail the team. Teams do this to each other. This is a natural part of working together. Is sometimes people perform very well, sometimes they perform poorly, and sometimes it's all about tasks. And by that, I mean somebody might be good at one thing and not so good at another. But they said, and I think this is the heart of it, in the retrospective, instead of giving honest, direct feedback, instead of talking about the real problems that were occurring, they talked in vague, abstract generalities. For example, this is the example they used. They said, instead of saying something like, Jim screwed up ABC, which really annoyed me, and I wish Jim would do XYZ instead, the team has a discussion about how should we change our approach towards software quality. Now, yes, and in the abstract, maybe Jim's behavior was impacting software quality, and maybe, but here's the thing I'm noticing here, and I think this is the heart of it. When our teams speak in vague generalities, when we abstract things, and by the way, we as engineers love to do this. We love to abstract things. What we're really doing, I think, is avoiding hard conversations. I know that when I find myself talking in business speak or abstraction, oftentimes if I stop myself and I think concretely, what do I want to accomplish here? What I really want to accomplish is very specific, but I am somehow afraid that it'll come across as conflict, that I'll hurt someone's feelings. And so your team might be thinking, well, it's more politically correct. It's more gentle to talk in abstract vagaries than it is to say, Jim, I wish you would deliver your code on time. When you do X, it caused me to have to go back and do Y, whatever it is. You see, I think that when we talk in the abstract, not only are we not confronting the real problems that our team is exhibiting, but and by we, I mean us and our team members. But what's also happening, I've found, is that sometimes Jim is completely unaware that the team is in the abstract talking about his behavior or his work. And he's like, yes, software quality is important, but he is not connecting the dots. Okay. So the person ends with this particular question. Any ideas about how to overcome this and get them to talk about the hard stuff and solve these problems, which I know they can once they have a common understanding about what the problems are? Well, you're probably going to guess what I'm going to say, but maybe not. So let me throw out a few ideas. First, I think you can lead by example. I think you can start to be more specific in your feedback. Individually, very important. It's you one-on-one. If I talk to someone about software quality, and we're one-on-one, that person probably means it's their software quality. But if I can even be specific when we're alone, that is a step towards be very specific about what's happening. I can learn to use language where I say, Jim, you checked in this work and it had these 5 errors, or it did not meet the requirements, or did not appear tested, or whatever. So first, we can be more specific in our language privately. Second, we can take that into a public place. Oh, that you might hear the idea that we always only praise in public and criticize in private. But if you want your team to have honest conversations, I think you've got to go first. And that means you have to do a couple things. One, you have to basically create an environment where your team, when sitting privately, can start to give each other hard, honest, candid feedback. That might mean and probably does mean things like asking for hard, specific, candid feedback, offering candid feedback, um, doing so in such a way that is not the end of the conversation, because feedback like this shouldn't be the end of the conversation, even though for a lot of people it's going to feel really awkward, especially the first 20 times you do it. You want to make it the beginning of the conversation. And every time you give feedback like that, if you say, Jim, I noticed that you did this sprint, and I noticed it meant Sam had to do this other thing. Or you say, Jim, you did this thing. What did other people like? What was the impact on the rest of the team? Let's be honest with Jim for a minute about this. You can also have a meta conversation immediately after, right? You can say, why would we do this? Isn't this going to embarrass Jim or Sam? Wouldn't it be terrible if we were embarrassed in a public meeting of these 10 people, our teammates? It might feel a little awkward at first, everyone, but if we don't start to become more honest with each other, we will not improve. Our trust will not grow. We will not learn how to have hard private conversations with each other. Instead, we will keep skirting around the problems and we will never grow and improve. And so, as of this day, I would like to offer that I think we can be better than that. I think we can actually, and I'm just sort of using this language, I think we can actually, as a team, take the risk, and maybe you facilitate a conversation about the risk of giving hard feedback. But what is the benefit also? The benefit, of course, is that people actually grow and change. That the resentment that's in our heart from working with a Jim or Sam or me as the boss, that resentment dissipates and we have better relationships. We have better working relationships. And at the end of the day, if you have actually a team, and by the way, a team is a group of people who depend on each other to deliver work, as opposed to oftentimes a group is all like if you have a group of 10, everyone is working on their own thing. There's no need for people to coordinate at all. In this case, I get the impression that this person has a real team. And what we need to do is start to talk about the environment we work in. We need to start to talk about the aspirational value of giving honest feedback. Maybe consider having everybody read Radical Candor, do book club for a month, and basically ask people to think or do crucial conversations together as a team and read it and then discuss it. These books offer framework and almost like mini scripts and stories that people can use to start to give each other feedback. You've hit on a really important point, and that is there's not no feedback to be given, but something about the team environment is making people reluctant. It could be fear, it could be culture, and culture plays a big part in this. A lot of cultures really are concerned about humiliating the other person. So if you want to create a team where people are willing to take the risk, you've got to, I think, sell it as worth the risk, give them some framework for giving each other that hard feedback. You've got to go first and illustrate what that's like. And I think you've got to ask for people to give you hard feedback and let them know that they won't be fired. You know, what I find is usually when people step up and they give Jim that hard feedback, honestly, and that turns into a conversation. They learn that Jim didn't get mad and throw something. They didn't die. They didn't get fired. That you didn't yell at them. That the team didn't hate them. And that actually, if they thank Jim and Jim thanks them, because this is another part of it, is how do we teach how to receive feedback? Do we thank people for feedback? Do we become resentful? So we have two sides of this: giving feedback and receiving feedback. A wonderful book I can highly recommend, in addition to Crucial Conversations and Radical Candor, which are primarily about giving feedback, is the book called What Did You Say? How to Give and Receive Feedback. It's a short book. It's fun to read, which might sound weird. Anytime you can start opening up the conversation with your team about the importance of honest feedback. And you can illustrate that when you do it, nothing bad happens, that there's no big damage to the relationship. And you start to try and aspirationally create a safe place for the whole team to discuss things. I think you're really going to improve things. But start by doing it, start by talking about it, recognize that it's a skill and maybe some teaching, a book would help. And generally just say, I no longer want to live in this environment where we all just pretend everything's okay. I want you to give me hard feedback, to give each other hard feedback. I consider this part of your job, and we need to train to do that. Okay, hope this was helpful. Leave thoughts on the video or comments. Thanks. Bye bye.